What's up, everyone? Welcome to the latest episode of Power Spike. It's your boy DGon alongside Dom and Jamada. And just in case you haven't already, I mean, you've probably already gotten the heads up, but it was Mother's Day, so make sure to message your mom if you had the time to. Did you do anything special, Jamada, for Mother's Day?
Mother's Day was 2 months ago here, mate. We don't celebrate Mother's Day. Yeah. We do it in March. So
all right, noted. Jamada
like
hates moms.
Yeah.
Hates moms, hates Faker. Dom, what did you do for? Did you just send a message? You check in? What'd you do?
Yeah, I just called my mom. We were gonna talk on that day anyway because normally she's like, because I'm working with C9, she's become like the biggest C9 fan. So now whenever they win, she just wants to talk. So yeah, I just talked to her about that. And yeah, about Mother's Day and everything.
That's good. Hopefully y'all had a great celebration at home as well. Let's get straight into it with our first segment of the day, and it's Certified Banger, since SACTAP not necessarily, it's on pause since the NLC is going to do their roadshow, their live finals with Ruddy Sack. So I figured that one's more of a SACTAP, but we're going straight on into it. It's Cloud9 and Team Liquid that battle for the number one seed. It was the marquee match of the LTA North this past weekend, and it delivered. Let's get to it. Certified Banger. All right. Well, this one felt like 3, but only was 2. Dom, please give us the insight on this great series, that battle for first place where Cloud9 took it 2-0 up against the faded APA Ziggs and a base dive that didn't quite work out multiple times.
Yeah, I mean, it was an interesting series. I think our game 1 draft probably caught them off guard. I think we got everything we wanted. To be honest, in both games, we knew everything that was going to be picked, which might have been the same for them. I obviously don't know, but it's weird because a lot of times when you look at Umti, you think, oh, this guy is like the Sejuani Maokai player, but he's actually played no Sejuani Maokai at all this split. He's been playing Neferi as his most played. So, our game 1 prep, we obviously took Neferi first pick, which I don't think they really expected. They took Azir, then we got Talia, which is another champion that APA is really good at and might even be his best champion. So we ended up with a draft where we just got kind of everything we wanted. Specifically against them, and I think the game was pretty easy. Since we literally were prepping for that blue side situation the entire week, it would be kind of a shame if the game didn't go like that. If we just this is what we think is going to happen, and then we're we know and then we go into the game, everything goes exactly according to plan, and then we just fucking lost. It would be wow, maybe we just suck. But there obviously is an added level of risk when you're doing things that you haven't done before on stage. For example, the first Neferi game we had was that Neferi Victor draft, which was just our worst draft of the split so far. And the game was just impossible to play for us. So this time it's okay, now we actually have the ability to, play around the Neferi more, and everything just went well. So that game was easy. Game 2 was definitely going to be a harder situation. Generally when you're playing red side, it is just harder because there's a lot of champions that Fly can play, that TL can play. Fly plays as well, but a lot of champions that TL can play that are really annoying. For example, the Ziggs pick. It's do you want to ban Ziggs if Ziggs is theoretically not that amazing in the game just because it's APA? It's you go back and forth on this all week. Ziggs is not a specifically really strong champion right now, but it's obviously one of his best champions. So you have to make the decision there. In the end, maybe we just have to take the L and we have to ban the Ziggs because they play Ziggs better than pretty much any other team in the world. I would say no one really plays this champion. And they do very specific things with the way they overload with Ziggs, where they just run multiple people to one lane, take every single turret on the map. And this is why when you see them go internationally, most teams that haven't played against them a lot will just ban Ziggs every single game. They just never let them touch the champion because they, no one wants to play a game where a team is doing something that they're specifically practiced on and you don't have as much experience against it. So maybe we needed to just ban the Ziggs in this game. It's we did end up winning, but the game did not go the way we wanted. Also, Lucian is another champion that Yeon plays super well. So Lucian, Milio, if they go that blind, there's not that many things that you can play against it that actually beat Lucian Milio super hard. So even though you have like Nautilus and stuff that can engage, it's not like a super easy game to play out. So pretty much that game, we have to like make very few mistakes in order to win. And we made like too many mistakes. We lost the 4th Drake fight, which should have been just like a win. That 4th Drake fight for Seoul, we should just win the game there because we get the engage off. Gnar has a flank position, and Lilia, that we force out the Milio ult. And if Lilia doesn't get hit by Skarner ult, which had no CC, like if Barber doesn't get hit by that, and he just Q flashes forward, he gets to sleep on everyone, and like the fight is just over. We just kill them all right there. But as soon as like the Skarner ult hits and then Lilia doesn't get an ult off in the fight, then the game should just be impossible to play. But overall, I mean, I think the team is pretty good at like dealing with those situations. Like once the plan breaks down, like just trying to give ourselves the best chance. I mean, I don't think it's an accident that they won 2 games from like pretty much an unwinnable position. Obviously, if the enemy team plays perfectly, you can never win those games. But I mean, they do have like a good idea of like when to like make our like, you know, last stand and stuff in game. So that was pretty good to see. So yeah, we have Fly this week. We'll see how it goes.
Jamada, when you look at that match and Dom says something like, reminds everyone that internationally APA gets that Ziggs banned all the time. What do you take away as like a blueprint as a third party? Is like, did we learn something from Cloud9 and the Ziggs ban and we can't drop it, or we should just continue to ban this?
I mean, I think in regards to the second game, it's like C9 played well enough up until that 4th Drake that it's like, I think there's arguments for both sides, right? And I've run into this issue. I used to run into this issue the short time that I coached, where it's like,
right,
especially in down at ERL levels, like everyone plays weird shit, so you're always like thinking about, hey, like, do I have to ban this like bullshit ass champion? When it comes to Ziggs, it's like he's such a difficult champion to break down in the hands of APA. Cool, he's probably the best. Like, who else plays fucking Ziggs, right? Like Tom said, no other team is really doing it. I always err on the side of just removing a weird champ if it's going to make the game weird or the draft weird. Simply because it's like, hey, we play against all the other champs basically every other scrim, every other stage game. If this champ is gonna, in the case of Ziggs, slow down the game, actually maybe even accelerate it for the enemy team, because like you think the Herald play, I think it was 2 mid towers off of like 1 push, and I can't remember what you guys are doing on the side lanes, but there was that sequence which it felt like gave TL like half a foothold. I still feel like C9 had control of the game generally at that point. I think it's, personally to me, it's never worth the risk of letting someone sit on that much comfort. I do feel, however, C9 are at a point to me currently where I feel comfortable with C9 letting champions go through like that as long as they have a decent response plan. And I feel like in this game, there kind of is and isn't. It's weird. They have enough engage to like kind of break through what TL had in that draft with a bunch of disengage. And I think that's fine, but the angles never really came through. Yeah, I don't know. I always sit on the get rid of the champ, just because dealing with it tends to be far more an annoying issue than again letting it through.
Would you? I think the other thing that people need to consider is that we're like, by the time that we leave the Ziggs open, that's like our red side draft, and we're up 1-0 as well. So it's like, if they lose that game, they lose Lucian, they lose Ziggs, they lose like pretty much like half of the champions that they're super good at. They also have Talia removed from the first game. Like, we're super confident in game 3 we're gonna fucking slaughter them in this type of situation because of everything that's removed. So it's like, it's one of those things where like, if you look at what we like when we played the best of 1 against them, you look at how we approach that. Like, most people, I mean, even like Inspired on the desk said that like he thought that we lost the draft just based off the fact that they got a bunch of champions that they're really like good at, right? Like, they got Talia, which is APA's like one of APA's best champions. They got Sion, which is one of Impact's best champions. They got essentially like all the champions they want, but they're comp with shit. And a lot of times, like, if you believe you're better than a team, it's like you can't ban everything all the time, and you'd rather them play things that are like not good, that are a little weird. But it's also like, it's a little weird, but it's also, it's TL, it's a team that we've scrimmed a decent amount. It's not like we've never played against their Ziggs and we haven't practiced against it. So it's not as like when we play against it, it's like, oh, we don't know what's happening when they're like starting to take turns. I mean, the biggest problem we had that game is that we're supposed to be covering the top dive when Loki is there, and when Loki died, like we were super far ahead. Loki died, we weren't covering it with our support, and they kill Loki. They kill the entire turret, and then they just have insane tempo lead, and then we're gonna like start dropping multiple turrets because they actually get that first turret down, and they're able to like create a lead. So like there's like moments in that game where if they don't happen, we'll just end up, you know, just running away with it. It just depends on, it just depends on like how, you know, you're willing to play these situations. But I think in general, like, I mean, our team is confident enough in our own play that we are going to be willing to play into people's champions that they're good on. Like, for example, versus Fly, we played into the Inspired Ivern. And like, you know, we'll ban things if people are good at them and they make sense into what we have, but we're not just going to ban things just because somebody plays the champion, you know?
Who's the who is the best player on both teams? So one for you guys, one for TL.
I think this series, I mean, I don't know. I don't know for them, but for us, I think Blabber like completely smurfed game one, completely carried the game.
Jamada.
Yeah, Blabber definitely earns it for C9 off the Neferi game. I think for TL, I don't know, man. It's hard. I mean, maybe APA just because he existed as a very big problem in the second game too. If it's to kind of got to use the same line of thinking, but he did get spoon fed a fair few kills just throughout the way that a lot of these sequences played out. Maybe Yeon. I think it's Yeon or APA. And again, I think much derived from the conversation we're talking about, right? Getting champions that they're very used to, not many other like mid laners or bot laners in the case of the Lucian. It's not really flying around as a super high prio pick. It's like sometimes if we're not seeing any best of fives globally right now, but it's pretty much showing up almost exclusively in game threes unless, you know, something weird is going on and it's like, hey, this is an okay Lucian angle. So yeah, I'll probably fly with APA, but like he also didn't exist in game one.
Yeah,
on the Azir, so it's weird.
Yeah. All right. Well, a good look into Certified Banger. If you haven't seen it already, go watch the series Masterclass in the Jungle by Blabber in game one, and a base defense for the ages. A kind of a throw, kind of a great base defense. I mean, the percentages were definitely against Cloud9 at that point. Team Liquid should have closed that one out. Not quite able to. All right. That's our first one done. Let's take a look now after getting all the positive out, the good feels out, into a fraud alert. It's time, especially after today, especially after watching this team look terrible. It's time for a fraud alert on 3 Worlds attending teams, but it's not the marquee episode. You know, the marquee teams, that was last time when we did T1, G2, and PLG. These are the other guys. They make it to Worlds. They're good in their region. But right now, things look shit for them. It's D+, it's JDG, and 100 Thieves. Let's rate them 1 to 10. Let's get into it. Let's start with JDG, since we just watched them. Since they've been in the news for a little while. A while back, CV Max resigned. Sorry.
Resigned. Yeah.
Resigned from JDG after his heralded move from the LCK. I think he's previously at Kwangdong Freaks. And then I think it was yesterday. I was looking at my phone, or 2 days ago. Zoom, JDG Zoom, former top laner in the LPL, comes back and is now coach over at JDG. I'm not sure if he was head coach. It wasn't very clear, but he's now back and invited back into the JDG family after quite some time. And then today, big match against IG, and they look lifeless. They look terrible. They look like a corpse of themselves. Jamada, you go first here. What's going on with JDG, and where do you rate him in fraudulency?
I mean, as far as I'm going to get the rating out of the way probably first here, actually.
Sure.
I think it's probably going to sit at like about 6.5 or a 7, which might seem a bit low, maybe, just because of, well, their roster. Just look at the names
Yes.
on the team. Excuse me, but I don't know. This team, as much as I've backed them actually a lot on this show, very explicitly, I've kind of given these guys the dark horse, title. Something just seems really, really off. I'm not sure if it's draft, because I think definitely throughout the first half of Split 2, it's a lot of their drafts were a bit wonky and a bit weird, and it felt like there wasn't a clear identity. It felt like no one really was consistently getting agency. And it's okay, well, cool. If they can sort that out, then maybe they'll start looking like a good team, right? My call personally was, hey, try and get Scout on more facilitators. I think it was what made him look the best on LNG, and subsequently what got LNG to anywhere near a top 8 last year, and even arguably the year before.
Yep.
But they've kind of strived on and off this path where it's hey, he's getting a little bit of Rise, a little bit of a little bit of Talia, or actually a fair bit of Talia, and it's still not really there. And if you look at the series against the defined top teams, right? The top esports 2-0 was the first game off the top of my head was the closer one of the two in that series, but then the second game they just got fucking slaughtered, and it didn't even feel remotely close. And much to today's kind of, if you watch the IG series, you'll see everyone was just out of place. It felt like no one was really trying to make a play on the same screen. And yeah, it's just a confusing situation to see. And if you think about the CV Max stuff, it does make you wonder how much of that is maybe weighing on your mind as a player, right? We don't know as outsiders the severity of what that situation was. But players like Shun, as an example, typically quite upbeat. Look at the player cams today. That guy looked depressed as hell, throughout the entire day. So yeah, I don't know. It feels like a mixture of this team doesn't really know what it wants to do. In a very similar vein to other, sometimes community dubbed super teams, because I think this team technically falls under the category of a super team, right? When you think about the names on the lineup, though I don't think anyone colloquially has really been calling it a super team. But on those super teams, what's the biggest thing that always kind of is the downfall of those teams? It's not enough people are getting the economy that they need, because typically these super teams have 3 laners who all want attention and a jungler who maybe is a carry jungler. I don't really feel like this is the case with this lineup at all. I feel like Scout can be a system player if he wants to be. Ala can be a system player if he wants to be. Shun was kind of getting used as a dog on BLG a lot throughout 23 and 24, and he had his time in the sun with a bunch of Nidalee and Kindred games, and it made sense throughout his time there. But again, it doesn't really feel like this JDG lineup knows what it wants to do with its players, and then that is also correlating to themselves not really being on the same page on the Rift. So yeah, I don't know, man. I'm gonna give them a 6.5 or 7 on the fraudulency scale, because I don't think that their overall expectations are super far away from where they are currently placing in the standings. But that said, there is something about watching a team that looks this distraught when they shouldn't be they shouldn't be playing this bad, right? It's Game 7 Harden levels of performance that is starting to creep in, bro. And I'm worried. I'm worried that hey, how much further can or will they drop down the table? Because they've got Weibo, who, I mean, Weibo have looked pretty hilariously bad again. This is just the curse of the Weibo up down. But then BLG and AL, right? And even NIP, who have had this recent resurgence of at the very least looking competitive and strong in their games, even if they're not getting the result all the time. So yeah, and FPX, really, if you want to talk about FPX too. So I'm concerned for JDG. I don't know if they're going to win more than 2 out of those last 5 series that they've got.
What'd you think, Dom?
I don't know. I feel the same way when I compare both these teams, Dom1 and JDG. They both just look there's no other way to say it besides for the fact that they just look depressed. They actually look like they have depression. They just look like they don't like they can't really engage with what's going on, that they don't really care, that like, you know, it just feels like apathetic in a way. And I wonder what's causing it. You know, like I obviously they had the coach issue, but after the coach issue, it felt like they were bouncing back and they were playing some like legitimate games. And then now they're just back to doing the same thing again, where it's like, it just feels like they don't care, like they're not trying. Like it just feels like really like sad and pathetic when I watch them. So I don't even know like how to consider it when it's like being a fraud, because it feels like, yeah, I don't know. It's like it's almost like hard to call them a fraud. It feels like bullying to call them a fraud at this point, because they're just like so like they're just like wallowing around in their own like self-pity and shit. So it's like yeah, I guess you're like a 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10 fraud, something like that. But yeah, I mean, I just want to know like what is actually happening with this team. Like, are they just like losing every scrim? Like, you know, do the fucking players hate each other? It was the CV Max thing. Like, did that just leave some real trauma? Like, what the fuck happened to make them look like this? Because they're not even like almost playing the game. Like, everyone's just missing out all their skill shots. People are getting caught all the time. It just looked like they just wanted to lose in peace. Even when the game was super winnable, even when the early game went like well, it felt like they still were just like, okay, let's lose quickly. It's like, well, what the fuck? You're winning. You have a comp, like the game 2 comp. I thought from JDG was good. They have Orion into Annie, which is a good matchup. They have Jarvan versus 3 immobile champions. You have Jarvan versus a Jace, versus a Jhin, and versus an Annie. And you end the game by killing like 6 champions throughout the entire game. Like, you're not able, and these guys were just existing with no flash. It's like Jhin is just sitting mid with no flash, Annie's sitting in the side lane, they just have no flash, and Jarvan's not able to do anything to them. So, yeah, it was super weird to watch. It just felt like they just don't care.
And that was after the first 2 kills in the mid lane. They were up. And it just felt like no, there was no more life in Jun. I like that. I mean, I kind of knew when I put this one together that all right, all 3 of these teams are underperforming, and it feels bad because it seems like the spirit's a little gone. But when we take a look at their first split, you know, JDG was 3rd. D plus Kia was like 1st in LCK Cup until they unceremoniously got dumped in 3rd, 2nd, and then 100 Thieves. Remember, we had the owner, we're the number 1 seed going to playoffs. It's not an upset, blah, blah, blah. And they got 2nd. I mean, these are 3 teams that had a lot of success at the beginning of the split and since then have dropped. D plus. I don't know. I don't know either. It feels very similar, Dom, of like, I wish I knew what was happening in scrims.
It's literally just pathetic. Like when you watch them play, it's like,
it's bad.
I don't even know. Like I'm watching Lucid play and Lucid just looks fucking terrible now. Like he's playing his champions in good situations. Like the game that really got me was that game where he was playing Lilia into like the early pick Wukong. It's like, or like, dude, how are you losing this? This guy was so good on Lilia that they were just like first picking it in games in winter. And it was like auto win. It's like, fuck, bro, you got to watch out of like, you know, Lucid's Lilia. This guy's just going to carry the game regardless. He didn't even need comps where there are a bunch of melees, but he's playing into multiple melees as a Lilia. And he's playing one of the easiest jungle matchups you'll ever get as Lilia, which is Wukong, because Wukong has no ability to ever like really go on you. Champion is pathetic pre-6. Lilia can just kite him easily. It's so good for Lilia. And then I'm just like watching them lose the game at level 5 in the top river. And they just aren't doing anything. Like the games that should be good for them are just terrible. You know, they also had that loss where they ended up playing like Skarner into they were playing Skarner into Lilia, and this is Nongshim, and Nongshim had like Lilia MF Lulu, and they lost on the Skarner side. I remember when Fnatic drafted MF Lulu, everyone was like, holy fuck, these guys are like super bad. Like, why would they draft MF Lulu? And Nongshim just beat DK with MF Lulu, like hard. Beryl is just running it almost every game, by the way. Like, Beryl is just so fucking useless. Yeah. This guy is like, there's nothing that triggers me more than the argument that Beryl is the 2nd greatest player of all time. That is like by far, okay, out of all the
I forgot.
Out of all the narratives that I've been hit with, the one that still like is traumatizing me to this day is when Cadrill's community, the rat community on Twitter, advocated for Beryl to be the 2nd GOAT. Like, if Faker didn't exist, who would be the GOAT of this game? And people are saying that, like, Beryl is clearly all-time way better than somebody like Chovy. I'm like, Beryl has never been better than Chovy for, like, a single second of his entire life. Like, maybe in, like, one best of 5 he played better than him. But, like, Chovy has just been a greater player than Beryl forever. You know? Like, it's like, people are so like diluted by the fucking world championships. It's like, oh man, this guy is like, this guy got 2 world championships. Neither of the world championships was he the best player on his team. He was, somebody who they're like, oh, don't forget about him. He's like a shot caller. He's important. Like that's how people framed Barrel's world championships. But no one was saying, like everyone knew that the original Dom1 was like Canyon Showmaker, like getting shit fucking done. Like their top side is fucking crazy. Canyon's gonna play Nidalee, Graves, have 1,000,000 CS and just like 1v9 the game. Like everyone knew he was the star of that team. When they won in 2022, Zika had the best performance ever that we've ever had in a world championship. Like he had the most 1v9, like total 1v9 performance we've ever seen in a world championship in the history of the game. And then like now we're saying that Barrels, because he got 2 of them, not only is he better than those players that contributed to those championships, he's now better than like everyone else that has ever played the game. So bro, Barrel is just bad. Like he is just not good, right? I don't even know where you'd put him. I think he's like, for example, I think he's worse than Kellen. Like, I think that it's very hard to make an argument.
Really good. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's hard to make an argument that Barrel is playing better than Kellen right now. I think it's hard to make an argument that he's, playing better than anyone on the top 3 teams. He's not playing better than Carrier. He's not playing better than Duro. He's not playing better than Delight. He's not even playing better than like, is he even playing better than Palu? I feel like Paulu's actually been playing better lately. Like it's like fucking close. Like Barrel looks more responsible for the losses that Dom1's had than I would say Paulu looks for like Breon's losses. I mean, he might be one of the worst supports in the entire league right now. And then Showmaker is just, I don't know. Showmaker's just gone. Like, I don't know what happened to Showmaker, but he just looks like a complete fraud right now as well. So when I'm watching this whole team play, they can't beat anyone right now, man. They're so pathetic. I didn't even wake up for T1 Dom1 to watch it live. Like normally that's the banger. That was the banger of last week, was supposed to be T1 Dom1, right? Like that was the marquee matchup for the week. I just knew not to wake up for it because I'm like, Dom1 has no chance. The way they're playing, they're just going to lose to everyone. Like they lost to KT, they lost to Nongshim, they lost to T1, they lost to Genji, Hanwha, like Genji twice, Hanwha. Like when was the last time this fucking team won a series? Like week 3? When was the last time Dom1 won a series?
They're on a 6 series lose streak. So it's been 4 weeks ago. 4 weeks ago.
Yeah. So we're on week 7 of the LCK, which starts tomorrow. And week 3 was the last time that Dom1 won a series. Week 3. Nice. So it's been half the season since they've won a fucking game. Nice. Well played. I mean, like they play against DR. I mean, if they lose to fucking DRX, if they're not able to at least get 1 win against DRX and BFX, I don't even know what to fucking say at that point. Like that is just pathetic. So I don't know. It's rough, man. It's rough. The other thing is just the way they're playing the games out. Dom1 used to be the team that was really good at fighting. Like they were the team where it's like, yeah, their macro isn't the best. They can't compete with the top teams like that, but they're just like really creative. They'll fight a lot. They make some good plays. Like they were fun to watch in that regard, and now they're just not even fun to watch. They're just sad. So I'm giving them the same as JDG. It's like 7.5, 8. They literally just look depressed.
I love someone in chat saying, dGon, go cover for your boys. D+ are not my boys. That definitely not. That's more for Chronicler. I like how you brought up Barrel, but I was actually more focused on Showmaker. I thought that he's been struggling a ton more, Jamada. So how do you see this team's struggles and where do you put it? Also, I have him 7th. He's in front of Palu, Life, and whoever DRX puts out on the alert. Yeah, whoever.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the 2 things for DK that, I mean, like, look, the plays, just to touch on Beryl for a brief moment, like the plays and the things that Beryl does are just like, even if you're a dummy, you can see they're bad, right? And I think like that's what makes Beryl kind of stick out like a sore thumb. I think the rest of what's kind of peculiar to me for DK is more pertaining to their draft identity in comparison to the first split, where it felt like they really hit their stride with Fearless. They were, and like obviously there's the context around the LCK Cup and how it was kind of internally to teams considered a bit more of a like, not let's have fun, but let's try and experiment a little bit in it. But it felt like at the very least they were doing that really well, and then it was the HLE series really like very, very close to those 5 games, and then 3-0'd by Gen G. But inside of those series, I think the HLE series, they still drafted kind of like normal. Normal to themselves. But then the Gen G series was, they just tried to draft like a normal team and then got their cheeks split open 3 games in a row for no reason other than the love of the game. And it feels like we haven't seen that same level of frequency of creativity out of DK since. And then if we do, it's like against the worst teams ish, right? But then they go into the teams above them, right? Your HLE, your Gen G, dare I say now your T1 again. And it's like they draft very standard to what is like meta now. And then they also just play worse than the team that they're against whilst trying to play a very normal style of play. And like it was highlighted, it's like, they're skirmishing with these weird picks in the early game was what kind of got them over the line, because they were able to transfer those leads into, insurmountable ones in the mid and late game. And they've just not really done any of that. It feels like they've lost a clear sense of identity inside of Fearless, where picking weird shit like going towards a TF when TF isn't fucking there anymore, or like, frequent in Pantheon mid, which I think Showmaker has Showmaker even played Pantheon mid again this play? I think he did in the HLE series, right? And I think that was more or less it. Maybe he played one other game that's slipping my mind right now. But I think a lot of what was kind of the catalyst for this team was, Showmaker on those kind of picks where he could skirmish really well with Lucid and bring his pressure, to side lanes towards Siwu. Siwu was fantastic on the Ambessa last split. And it feels like he's not really found a clear, strong champion again to really kind of like lean on crutch. And Beryl is barreling, which is kind of leaving aiming on a bit of an island. So I think, that all of these things kind of interlink and entwine with one another. I do think even with Beryl inting, if they had, that, I don't want to like lean on draft as like the end all be all, right? But I think it was so core to their identity in the LCK Cup that ever since it feels like that's not been a strong point of this team, they feel a lot more toothless. And until they get back on track with that, I feel like landing on 5 champions that they all want to be on together, I think it's going to be very, very difficult for them to reasonably contest these top teams again, like they were in the first split of the year. And I think they're going to continue to slip down, because I think you look at teams like, Nongshim have been a little bit more strugglesome lately, but other teams as well, like Fearex, who frankly are just kind of looking, and KTU just look better because they at least feels like they want to play on the same team together. They want to be on the same screen. They're making plays together, which is something you can't really say for DK right now.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, I feel the same way about aiming that I do for Berserk right now, which is help them out. Someone help them out. Like they are suffering right now. Let's move on to 100 Thieves. They dropped their series to Shopify Rebellion and now have to play in that elimination match, which is stupid. But that's the format. That's the way it goes. And with the tiebreakers, they end up losing out on it. And it's against Disguised, I believe. Yeah, it's against Disguised. So they have the opportunity to potentially go out in 7th, 8th after a pretty good start. Fraudulency scale here, Dom, as it was the early season 100 Thieves fraudulent? Is the current 100 Thieves fraudulent, or is this just part of 100 Thieves?
Say that they're not as bad to me, like in the context of the league, as the other teams. Like they don't look like they're like mentally fucked or anything. They just look like they kind of are a little bit like exposed for not being as good as people thought they were. I mean, to be honest, most people thought they were fraudulent even when they were winning, even when they were in LTA finals and like in winter. Most people were like, yeah, there's something wrong with like how this team views map play. Like their macro isn't good, but they're fighting all the time and they're winning. Now you have less opportunities to fight with like the grub change coming in. So that's not necessarily good for them. And then also, I think they just had like a pretty bad, they had some like pretty bad picks, I would say, in general in this series for Shopify. Like the Aurelia pick, I thought was fucking useless. Like as soon as this was locked in, it's like, all right, you're playing 4v5. Let's see if you can still win. So to me, it just feels like they kind of could like they could adjust their read. I mean, who knows? The new patch is coming in, right? The new patch is coming in. There's buffs to like Smolder and Senna. Those are FBI champs, right? Obviously, FBI was somebody who was willing to play Smolder even in this series. So who knows? Maybe they end up bouncing back. But I don't think that they're as fraudulent as the other teams. I think that they're okay. They're like a 4 out of 10 fraudulency. I mean, if you don't think a team is that good to begin with, you can't consider them super frauds, in my mind.
Jamada.
I'm going to give him a slightly higher rating because I still feel like it's fucking heresy to to lose. In the scope of like the whole air quotes top 4, bottom 4, right?
Yep.
I think most people would consider 100 Thieves the 4th team, and if you don't, then sure. I mean, maybe like TL have looked really weird, let's say. So maybe you could place 100 Thieves above them if you really wanted to, but I personally wouldn't. And then Shopify, to me, I know everyone was like very, very big on Leon, but I feel like Leon and Shopify kind of shared that 5th, 6th spot kind of together-ish. Mostly because I looked at this team as one where I feel like a lot of the time they were in the right-ish place, but either spend too much time before executing or like something in the sequence leading up to the play that they want to make just takes too long. I think you can look at Contract as an example. It felt like he used to get dragged around the team, and I'll get to 100 Thieves. I know it's like 100 Thieves fraudler. He would get dragged around a lot to kind of either cover or like make a play that just maybe seemed good in the moment, but it's like you show up and the wave's not ready. So it's like you got to burn another 20 seconds, 25 seconds just to wait. So I think to me, sure, 5th, 6th, that is where they sit. I still feel like the gap is or should be theoretically big enough with the players that 100 Thieves have, and even with their tendencies, that they shouldn't really be dropping this series regardless. Even if I still feel like they are 4th and like Shopify are 5th. I think the Aurelia pick was just a big fucking ego thing, man. Like it's like straight out of solo queue rip. It's like, you remember when Aurelia first got reworked, and I think Nah happened to be meta when Aurelia got reworked, and everyone was like, oh my god, this pick runs over a Nah in the side lane, and it just never gets played. It's like, well, awesome. We're not playing like season fucking 8 League of Legends anymore when you could side lane. This is season 2025. Yeah. You have to show up to an objective every 3.5, 4 minutes, basically, like clockwork, and put in a shift the team fight. And Aurelia just really isn't that champion unless you have either snowballed her to a point where she's Thanos, or, for whatever reason, she's allowed very easy backline access. And into the draft that Shopify had in that game 3, that just wasn't the case, right? Even Aurelia removed, I feel like they had the tools that they wanted in this game to win, and they were still undone by Lucian Milio, and a very, very good spot for Xerath outside of the Nocturne existing, right? Because who's really reaching Xerath under most circumstances unless Palafox really fucks up?
Yeah.
So I think the fact that they end up on these champs and they're not ready for what Shopify have, to me, is a bigger slight, regardless of how you perceive the difference in these two teams. So I'm giving them a 7, I think. Losing rank and file out of that top 4 is criminal, and it's probably going to have some annoying ramifications for them, assuming that they do it's DSG, right? Their elimination match now that they have to play. They should beat DSG. I don't see them struggling against DSG. It would be funny if they did. They won't. And then we'll see. Is it? I forget how the format works in NA because it's particularly weird.
But if you win that, they're on the single elimination bracket portion. Yeah.
They start from the lower bracket from off rip, right? So yeah. I'm going to give them a 7. I feel like it's actually a much bigger slight to lose to Shopify than I think people think. Yeah, that's where I sit.
Yeah, that's how I was surprised, Dom. I mean, maybe you see more scrim results or something like that, but just the start from where they were at and the surprise member of like, damn, Ayla looks not only competent but really good. And not that loss is his fault. It's just now we're starting to see the cracks here. I thought it would be a little bit sharper of a rating, but 100 Thieves, they find themselves with a 7 and a 5 rating. Let us know at home what y'all think for D+, JDG, and 100 Thieves, the underachievers of the week. And for 100 Thieves, could be their last week. D+ and JDG, yeah, they're fine. They've got at least several more weeks to go before we hit the playoffs. All right. While you're there, make sure to like and subscribe and check out our friends over at Factor. Make sure you make this season easy with nutritious 2-minute meals from our friends over at Factor. Eating well has never been this easy. Just heat up and enjoy, giving you more time to do what you want. You can get outside instead of prepping and cooking indoors. With Factor meals arriving fresh and ready to eat, they're perfect for any active lifestyle. And with 45 weekly menu options, you can pick gourmet meals that fit your goals. Choose from Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, Keto, and more. Factor powers your day with satisfying breakfasts, on-the-go lunches, and premium dinners, and guilt-free snacks and desserts. And it's easy to savor more this spring. Factor meals pack in the flavor like none of the fuss. All right. So make sure to head on over to factormeals.com/powerspike50off and use code powerspike50off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. That's code powerspike50off at factormeals.com/powerspike50off for 50% off plus free shipping. Be like Dom. Get yourself the Factor. It's really easy. Tastes good. Variety's there. And you have no fuss about it. Thanks to our friends over at Factor. All right, let's dive into our next one. We've had some unique things come up in this year of LoL Esports. Some patch changes, road shows, in etiquette. So we've got a little high key, low key, no key. This one is about esports etiquette. I haven't told the guys exactly what it is for. You don't have to land each thing in there in each one, but I want to know what they think is kind of an important thing and how it should go if they feel either way about one of these topics. But overall, the genre, esports etiquette, as we get into high key, low key, no key. All right, so we had the road show over in France. I think it was in Paris, but I'm not 100% sure. Is it in Paris, Jamada? Do you know?
It was in Paris, yeah.
All right.
Paris.
Please, Casey fans, I'm trying. It was the French road show after the Madrid road show and the LCK road show as well. So we've had 3 total. And then LTA did their Spirit Blossom thing, Spirit Blossom party afterwards. But one thing that stood out, apart from losing power and strobe lighting the first teams, was booing. Booing was eminent across all teams that weren't named KC. And even in the first series where like when KC wasn't playing, people just didn't give a fuck. So my question to you guys is, do you have a strong feeling about booing at esports events? Obviously, you know, all of us cut from sports, but booing at esports events. Don, let's go with you first.
I wouldn't have a problem with them booing if K-Corp fans weren't such insane pussies about any time that KC gets criticized on Twitter. Like, if they just weren't crying perma, then I would be like, yeah, just boo. Like, yeah, like boo. But like, they can't take any criticism and then they just like boo perma. So it's just like, it just seems like weird behavior. Like, I don't know. They can boo if they want. I think it's fucking weird to like have a roadshow and have, you know, G2 versus was it SK or who the fuck did they play? They play a G2 play. Who did G2 play? Was it SK?
I think it was SK, yeah.
Yeah, SK the first series, yeah.
I don't know why the fuck is SK even at the roadshow, but whatever. Okay, so seeing that series, I mean, that's pathetic. Fucking why would SK be there? They have 0 fans. But anyways, having people boo that match, I feel like is weird. I feel like supporting your team is like good, and like booing the enemy team, it makes sense. But like, it's very weird to have a road show where like the players just come out for both teams. It's like boo, boo, fuck both of you guys. It's like, why the fuck are they even playing then? Like, what's the point of even having those teams play in France? Just have only the fucking Casey games there and just do a 1-day road show and have Casey play twice or some shit. Like, I don't fucking know. It just seems weird that there's matches where it seems like the fans are not really into like either team, or like they don't like, they want both teams to lose like in a match. Like, somebody's got to fucking win, bro. Like, I don't know. And I was surprised because I thought like the French players might get like some cheers. Like, I was like,
yeah, no, bro.
I thought like Skewmond was like might get like, so it's like, oh, he's French. Like Hansam is like he just shows up. He's like, I'm French, and they're like, fuck you. It's like, all right, my bad. Like, it's just weird, but yeah. I mean, I don't really have a problem with it. I'm just like, the only thing I have a problem with is like, then don't be a little bitch on Twitter if your team is going to be the team that is like, you know, trying to like disrespect everyone and boo all the enemies and stuff like that. That's all I would say.
All right. That take low key. I feel like that's a low key take.
No, it's a no key for me. No. I don't actually think. I just wanted to flame like K-Corp fans, you know.
Jamada.
Yeah, my pin kind of drops somewhere between low key and no key, right? You introed us very well. We all kind of have traditional sporting backgrounds, right?
Yeah.
And mine explicitly is more like athletics, a little bit of football. And like the football side of me is just like, what are we really doing? Especially like, because I know the sporting cultures are slightly different, like North America. Oh, well, very different North America to Europe, right? And I feel like when you have a neutral game going on, especially in the context of this is KC sat in their arena watching two neutral teams, you would think that they would at the very least, because obviously before they played their two series, you know, there was room for like bullshit to kind of happen in the top four. You would think they would at the very least actually cheer on SK to win, simply just on the premise of G2 is one of their direct competitors. But no, they shit on them both. So it was just that to me is what doesn't make sense. Is like, wouldn't you logically want to support the team who is going up against one of your rivals? Like, that just feels like core to like sporting culture. Like if I'm hate watching a Tottenham game, yeah, and because I'm an Arsenal supporter, right? So if I'm hate watching a Tottenham game for whatever reason, and they're playing against, I don't fucking know, it doesn't even matter, like Chelsea, right? There's another London rival to us. I hate both these teams, but I would probably want Chelsea to win a little bit more, just because I don't like Tottenham that much, right? Yeah. And you would think, in the case of KC, they don't really have a reason to have to dislike SK Gaming. So they would, at the very least, just give them a neutral, like, they don't have to, like, fucking cheer like mad, like their players are walking on, but just give them a little, like, yeah, like, you know what I mean? So that, to me, is just, it's weird etiquette. It's just really, really weird etiquette. And my opinions lie relatively in line with Dom in the sense of considering all of the context, even if you think back to, like, the Red Bull event, was it, gosh, almost a year and a half, 2 years ago, where Faker was out on stage, and it seemed...
Oh, yeah.
apparent that the KC fans were fucking booing Faker. That the fact that they are so sensitive to criticism in this regard, and I'm usually someone who's relatively neutral when it comes to the KC fans, because I've had a very good relationship with them through when they first came into the ERLs and were like showing up to EMEA. I was giving them a lot of banter. Their community was giving me a lot of banter back. It's always been love, but like, guys, when you show up to these events, like, make it make sense, innit? Like, you can't. To me, it just feels like it's like shithouse that doesn't make sense. Like, what's the shithouse for? Boo the team that you don't want to win, cool. But what if you're there to watch League of Legends? I get it. You're KC fans. You want to watch your team play. Support the team that's going to help your cause the most.
Yeah.
That's or just like, I don't know. It's like how many times has Caps played in an LEC match in France? You know, like maybe like twice. Like, I don't know. There was like the what was it, Montpellier? There was that one.
Yeah,
I mean, he's like almost never. So I mean, you'd think that they'll be like, "Oh shit, the goat's playing like near it. Hey, the goat!" Or like, "Oh my god, Bukata. Oh, this guy's French. I'm French. I like French people." Like, I thought it'd be something like that, you know?
That to me was the biggest surprise because I like, there's as a Brit, there's a few French people I like, but generally speaking, I keep them kind of, on one side.
Yeah.
The fact that the illusion of the cult was like broken to me, and like we got very limited. I don't think we had any chart. Like I get it, G2 direct compare, so you're not gonna cheer on Hans, maybe. But like Skumond, I thought maybe they had a little bit more of a soft spot for.
This guy was just an LFL. Like he's like,
yeah.
I mean, he just like, come on, bro. Like he just started fucking playing at LEC.
I don't know. I know. They did cheer for Bukada. Apple's actually in the chat. They're one of the
he did
KC guys. Yeah.
Bro,
they did cheer
like
for Bukada
only
a bit,
boost to me, bro.
Bukada was the
like
only Bukada was the only person out of a KC jersey that I actually think got any level of.
Did he?
Like,
I mean, when I was hearing, I just sounded like maybe they were saying something else, but I heard just like ooh, like every single time. Like I want to go back and listen to it.
That's the one thing. Like it's always going to be difficult if you're not in the arena. One thing I've learned is that it's always going to be a little bit difficult unless it is resoundingly one way or the other, right? Like you're not really going to know what way the arena's going. But yeah, it felt like if you weren't in a KC jersey, boy, you were in hell. Like that's just what it was. Yeah,
I'm down with it.
I wasn't really
stop fucking crying on Twitter then. Like that's all I care about.
Yeah,
Just like stop fucking crying. Like I've had so many weird interactions with KC fans. Like for example, there was that tweet where they were doing and even Apple's was somebody who like had to clarify because the fans were going so mental. There was a tweet where LEC was doing a creativity tier list, like which top laners are playing the most fun picks, right? And they had Kana in C tier, which is like Kana plays only meta. Like he just is like the best. I think he's the best top laner in LEC, but he plays like he's like your standard Korean top laner. He plays fucking Gwen, Gnar, fucking like Aatrox, Jax, Renekton, Rumble. Like he just plays like the standard meta. So he was in C tier. And like the response from like the fans under that, which all had KC in their name, was like, what the fuck, LEC? Like, no fucking shit. Where it's like, number one, if your reading comprehension is this bad, then probably just don't comment on it, like whatever. But what was weird was the majority of the KC fans, I think, actually were like distancing themselves from that reply, where they're like, oh, this is bad. And then I also pointed out that I'm like, these people, this is just an IQ test. Like this is an IQ or / a reading comprehension test. Either when you see this, either you're fucking stupid or you don't understand the language and can't read. Like that, those are the only two possibilities to getting mad at this tier list. Like you just don't understand it or you're a dumbass. That's it. And I pointed that out. And then KC fans were mad at me when they also were on my side. It's like, wait, you guys said that those fans weren't even real KC fans and that those fans were all fucking stupid. Like you guys just said that. And then I was on your side and then you're mad at me that I'm also against these dumbass people that you don't even identify with, that you guys were fucking against as well. So it's like, I just don't understand like when I interact with KC fans. To be honest, like most of the time I'm just like confused. I'm just like, I mean, why are you guys even mad? Like that's how I feel all the time.
In their defense, like the fan base is so large, you will run into a massive dichotomy of like sane people and not sane people and ultras, and then also surprisingly sane ultras. Like I remember the very first split that I was doing EMEA Masters. I think it was back in 2021. I want to say this was the first split that KC made an appearance at that tournament. And I was giving a bunch of shit to the French fans just because it was fun. I enjoyed it. And it was like, there was a real fine line between them understanding it was banter and then giving me banter back, right? Like they were giving me appearance jokes. There were a few James Harden jokes actually back then. So like, fuck you, Dom. They had it down before you did. And made it popular. But then like, there were also things where it's just like, they're crossing the line with like racism or like whatever it may be. So I think no matter what you do with like a fan base this big, it's always going to be like, it's person to person at the end of the day. But sometimes, yes, you see situations like this where it's like, it's so obvious that the answer is A, and a large majority, whether it be vocal or not, seems to think that the answer is B in the case of that creativity tier list.
Yeah.
Because again, it was quite. I'm pretty sure I remember the graphic like in my head. It literally said top lane creativity tier list at the top in orange letters.
Yep. And then it was just like it was like knock knocko, right? It was like knock knocko all the way to the top with like fucking BB and shit.
This is the dumbest thing about it. Actually, is when you look at the tier list, it's like the best top laners aren't even in S tier. So use your head for a second. Like, are you watching the league or are you just watching your own team's games? Because if you watch the league, you knew who did they have in S? It was Merwin, Naknako, and someone else, right?
No, I think it was BB. I think it was BB and Merwin actually.
BB and Merwin. It's like, guys, because it was BB that did the tier list, right? It was PGL with BB, I want to say. So it's like, guys.
So. No, it was Merwin's. It was Merwin's creative.
Is it Merwin's tier list? Okay. So like, realistically, if you watch the league, you know Merwin hasn't been the best top laner in the split. This top laner this split. It's that simple. If you watch the league, then you know. But then if you read the fucking words on the graphic, then you also know. But yeah, again, I think there's always a little bit of a disconnect between like that sect of very passionate, won't take criticism, from anyone KC fans, and then like again, like the more sane side of that community, which feels like a rarity. I think the language barrier there doesn't help either.
Oh man, it's so funny. I'm just going back to the tweet. Like, Kada NC, all caps, right? And then somebody's like so pretty much points out that they can't read, and then he's like, even if it is creativity, Kana is still the most creative. He comes up with minions from who knows where. He gets canceled 2 waves and still manages 11 CS per minute. What a beast!
That's pretty good, man.
Oh man, it's too crazy, bro. I can't believe this community. Hey, you know what we need to talk about on the show? Actually,
what?
We have to talk about. We have to talk about your former caster who's fighting the good fight right now, or your fellow caster. I mean.
Fellow, yeah.
Former for Jamada, fellow for me.
Yeah.
We have a whole episode on it on Pug State.
Really?
Yeah. It is the topic.
Yeah.
It is the topic of this week because we were like, we could talk about.
You're doing that shit on LCK. You can't say the shit that I'm about to say. Like,
yes, but I mean, professional me and then podcast me, right? Like, professional me and then other me.
Yeah.
Professional me was a little uncomfortable with how hard we were going.
Really?
Yeah. Like,
well, look, dGon's the neutral guy, isn't it? That is like dGon, peace and love. I know, I've got a lot of love for you, but like that, you don't really want to ruffle feathers, and that's fine. That's
I don't like ruffling any feathers as well. Really?
Yeah. Well, what about it? What about it, Dom? what we have keep getting pulled into like T1 stuff.
Yeah, we to keep up because there's new stuff every week. Like that's the crazy part is it's not like T1
this week it was me. This week it was me. Yeah, I got pulled into it.
Wait, you got pulled into it? Wait.
Yes, that's why. That's how all this started. It was the Saturday. It was our Saturday showdown, and we did we were comparing Guma's champ tier list against Wadid, Aiming's champ tier list, and Wadid, we went over this in rehearsal, and then Wadid, who is my brother, my homie, was like, Guma has a weird champ pool, but so in best of 3, I think because I think he is one of the best carries in the LCK. Because what he meant was he's not getting exploited like he would possibly in best of 5s. But he didn't say that in rehearsal. And so all I heard was he is the best AD carry in the LCK. And I was like, what? And then they cut to my face like, huh? And then I saw my face and I was like, all right, I guess we're doing it. And then we kind of had this discourse and then it got clipped and translated saying it got clipped and translated. Then people were like, wow, just shitting on it, being like, wow, Wadid is so based. Like, man, I feel really bad for Wadid. He should get his caster fired. People were like, man, the classic, dGon doesn't know anything. What an idiot. Thank God people don't take the global broadcast seriously. And then that's when it started. Like people, it was just coming in left and right. It was like all
like. I saw Ox replying to everyone. Like Ox is
that's
actually
why
he's been in a war, and like he's advocating for like the most like normal things of all time, and people are losing their mind. He's like, I think we should be able to compare players to one another on the broadcast, and everyone's like, fuck you. This is why nobody watches LCK Global, you piece of shit. And it's like, bro, what? Like, and somebody in my chat, because we were reviewing some of the tweets, because I think Ox is like, number one, I think that Ox is actually super important to the LCK Global broadcast. I think that he brings like a level of knowledge that had kind of like not been there since LS. Like he had like there essentially wasn't a former pro player on like the broadcast casting games. You had like Huni in between, but you didn't have that guy who's like actually been former pro player, thinks about the game like a pro player on the LCK Global broadcast for like a year or like a couple years or whatever from when Ox started. And I think that elevated the LCK broadcast. So to me, I'm like, this guy is like one of the most important pieces. It's like you have Atlas, who's like, you know, the GOAT play-by-play. I think that Wolf like has like this like level of like casting professionalism, and he's just been casting for so long that like I think he brings like a level of like crispness or like professionalism to the broadcast, which I think is valuable. I think Chronicler is like kind of like a bridge between people. I think Valdez is kind of somebody who can like go into a lot of different roles. He elevates the broadcast in his own way. Like obviously you hosting, I think that you've been a good addition. I feel like everyone has purpose, but like the idea that Ox is like ruining the broadcast or something is so insane to me, because I think that he makes the broadcast so much better. Like he's somebody who helps the broadcast so much. And if Ox wasn't there, I feel like there would be something missing. And the way that people talk about him is like he's a moron for comparing players between each other. And one thing my chat said when we went over all this was, if we can't compare if we can't compare players, then how is Faker the GOAT? Like how can we say that Faker is the GOAT if we are not allowed to compare him to other players? You know, then he's just then every player is just its own thing, and you can't compare anyone, right? So like Faker, I guess, how do we know that Faker's the GOAT if we can't compare him to other players? Like, and I thought that was something where it's like, I would love to see those same fans deal with that response. Like if they actually were to intellectually engage with it, if you have the stance that you are not allowed to compare players, and then you also want to say that Faker is the GOAT, how can you possibly do that? Or how can you say like Guma is the best AD? Like how can you do that intellectually if you try to go through? Like that would be like so frustrating to try to do. It's like, I mean, I don't know. So I don't know. I just found like this war like
welcome to what it can feel like.
Yeah, I mean, this is I've been looking through Ox's Twitter every day. I've been checking his Twitter because he's just replying to like so many different people. But honestly, I think it's based because like he should be able to do his job, and what he is doing is his job. Like comparing players is part of the job as an analyst. Like he is somebody who is a color commentator. If he's not allowed to do that, then I think he is failing at his job. So watching him go back and forth, I don't know, man. Like I just feel like it's so weird what I'm seeing. Like I just don't feel like these are sports takes. Like this is the same thing that we were talking about with our take here, where it's like, as somebody that comes from a sports background, I can't imagine this being a topic in the sporting world where there was like this many people, that was such a significant part of the fan base that thinks you can't compare players. Because when you're from the normal sporting world, like I'm big into NBA, people love talking about like Jordan versus LeBron.
Every other conversation. It's every other conversation.
People love doing that. That's like such a fun part about, you know, being involved in that, comparing teams, comparing players, comparing stats, comparing eras. Like that is just what like the whole thing is. So it's so weird that there's such a big portion of the community that thinks that comparison is bad in a sporting context.
Yeah. The biggest argument that kicked off for Ox, which actually happened earlier in the week, you're right, was why are you still talking about Zeus on T1? Like, why are you so clingy? was specifically the term. And I was like, ooh, that's not it. And it was like,
and then they'll turn around and they'll be like, by the way, like Faker's fucking Worlds performance was insane, bro. Faker is the GOAT. You remember like the last 10 years of his play? Like he's fucking like, let's just talk about how great this team was, you know, like,
but to so your point, that to me, that is the exciting thing about this T1 roster. One of the exciting things, it's, can they do it now with a new core and have to change yet again this late in Faker's career how they function as a world-class team without your world-class top laner. You have a solid top laner, a true professional, someone who can be good, but he's not going to be the highest CS difference at 15 like Zeus currently is over at Hanwha Life Esports with the one of the highest death rates in the league. He's in the lower 50% of how many times he dies in a game. That's how good Zeus is. That's not Doran. But to see this T1 roster come up above that, that is the exciting part. But you have to compare to be able to do it. The people get mad when you do it. I'm trying to put in context how good your team is. I'm not shitting on your team. I'm just saying they're different. But it might mean they're not as good. Oh,
it does mean that.
Circle.
It does fucking mean that. It's it just simply does mean that. But it's like, how else are you going to actually do your job, which is talking about the LCK? Like, you have to mention that. Like, right now, there's a very clear top two. There's a very clear top two. And it's probably one of the most distinct top twos that we've had in recent years. Because before, it was like Hanwha Life was kind of challenging. It's like, oh, it's like T1, Gen.G, Hanwha Life. And it was kind of like a big three. And then Dom1 was like kind of a fraudulent team. It's like Dom1 and KT last year were kind of like frauds. Like, they didn't like. No one actually thought they were going to do much. Dom1 even beating T1 to be the 3rd seed over the 4th seed, that was like impossible in a lot of people's minds. And when you're telling the story of the LCK, like, part of what you are trying to discuss, especially going forward into playoffs, is like, yeah, who's going to be able to actually challenge Gen.G and Hanwha Life? And I feel like if you don't contextualize why the other teams or why these teams are so good or why they're so advanced, then how can you talk about like what areas they can be challenged on? Like, it just seems very difficult to actually talk about the league without seeing like, okay, T1 used to be able to challenge these teams last year. What has changed? Like, what are they good at? What are they bad at? And a lot of times what has changed is their ability to play certain styles, their firepower, things like this. And this comes down to roster. It's not like some random like miracle. I mean, obviously it could be meta, right? You could talk about other contexts, but right now it looks like over a bunch of different metas, we still have a defined top two. Why is that? People think because of the capabilities of a player like Doran. And it's completely fair to talk about it, and you should talk about it if you're doing any type of like honest casting or analysis.
All right, Jamada, I'm sorry. I soaked up.
No, you're okay.
I soaked up so much.
No, it's
That's
fine.
etiquette, man. That's esports etiquette. Stop being a moron and stop being a moron and flaming professionals for doing their job well. There you go.
Yeah. You know, I feel like this segment took a right, like not a left turn, actually took a right turn.
Yeah.
The thing for me with this, and you know, actually, before I say my point, I just want to talk about Orcs for a second. Orcs is one of the main reasons why I was even able to get my foot in the casting door. He was the guy that gave me my first opportunity in the scene, like in the ERO level. So I know him quite well because we spent a lot of time together. He is petty. If you think that these last 3 or 4 days is going to be the end of it, I promise you, he has more willpower than your average person by a long shot. He will fight tooth and nail. Love of the game. Like, Dom,
the game.
Since I've hung with you, I've started to understand what it means to, you know, be a hater in new ways for sure.
Yeah.
But you see Orcs, Grandmaster. This he will the things he will say to you, he will undo your argument and then also make you look like a fucking idiot at the same time. Just because he can.
I like some of those tweets.
Just like, because he can.
The one where he's like a book is useless in the hands of somebody who's illiterate, or like a library is useless in the hands of somebody who's illiterate. And I was like, yeah, damn,
what's the point of a library to someone who can't read it? Like I'm telling you, he will sit there on Twitter and embarrass people for weeks if he has to. But yeah, I want to say, as a very based, like, to me especially, and I'm not sure if it's like the culture difference in like maybe Korean broadcasting as a whole, because I newsflash, I don't speak Korean, but at least like compared to the West, these narratives, like for pundits in general, our job is to do what's kind of on the tin, right? It's the analysis, it's the comparison, it's storytelling. Like fundamentally, as casters, we are storytellers, right?
Yep.
And you know, the way that we tell these stories is going to vary person to person based on our passions, our individual understandings of the game, and a bunch of other variables. But I know from like hearing secondhand that a lot of the time, the Korean side of the broadcast, I don't want to say bullied isn't the right word, but it does feel like they just play, from what I've come to understand, the hey, Genji are the good team, or like whoever is the good team at the time, like they kind of just go, yeah, this team will win because they're good. And then like that's it. And that kind of line of thinking goes down the entire way. So I wonder if when it comes to Korean fans interacting,
it's definitely not top down.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it. I just think that we're able to speak our mind a lot more freely because our audience is more open to it. That's what I would say.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, cool. Then I'll phrase it like how dGon just phrased it. So imagine dGon said what I just said. Oh, sorry. Imagine I just said what dGon said. So I wonder if, like, with the Korean fans being used to receiving broadcast information from the LCK like that, they then see the global team basically expressing free will and go, yeah, nah, this ain't on. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, that is it is the basics of our job. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. It strikes me as very, very weird, and it always will. I think it's one thing if as an analyst, someone is saying something blatantly wrong, and like sometimes we do. We 100% we miss the mark. We have an incorrect read. That's part of the job, and I actually think, from a broadcast perspective, whenever we are wrong, either as analysts or as a whole broadcast, I think it actually, as long as you've got the right people in the camp, it serves to enrich that story. It serves to enrich what's going on in the league, if it's handled eloquently. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It seems so bizarre that criticism or just comparison is like a big no-go, apparently. I mean, as long as it pertains to T1, like they are just the, it feels like we're in the Middle Ages. You say something bad about the king, that's it, boom, hands gone, like, tongue out, gone, like straight punishment is what they're calling for.
Yeah, it is very unique dynamic, and that's why I think when you brought up the KC fans, it reminded me of the T1 fans, and it reminds me how big the pool is of fans. And then also, especially for Twitter, right? You just put in a hashtag, like language barrier across multiple, how wide the fandom is. I'm not talking about just English and Korean. That's usually not the fans who we're fighting with. Sometimes it is, but generally it's not. Most of the time it's not. And so I think there's a different type of language barrier. And then I've seen so much good fandom from T1. I've seen so much positive fandom from T1, which is why I'm trying to push that as well. But then you just get the random things that don't necessarily show up on LOL Park, or it's not just some rich spoiled kid with some money who bought some trucks. Like, the actual fandom that's there, that takes like the time, the effort, the crafting of things, and the supporting of the players no matter what. It seems fine. But once we go into attacking, it's just so shit. It's just so shit. And then they don't realize it's what we do is talking about the story, talking about the game, storytelling. And what they're doing is not that. It's just not that. So anyways, that was good etiquette. I think I'm very high key on trusting the professionals. You can be skeptical, but trust the professionals. We live our life like about this.
I'm high key on Orcs not losing a single debate with any of these guys on Twitter. That's for sure. He's gonna win every single one.
All right, last high key thing. I feel like we've.
That was a good tangent. No matter what you say.
No, I love that shit. We're last one for drama alert. Interviews.
Yeah.
Post-game interviews, just in case you guys missed it. My boy Sheiden, who I already know because I did an interview with him when he was on EG, and it basically went the same way, did a pre-game interview on stage with Azael, trying to set the stakes. And, Azael asked I think, pretty straightforward questions. Like, people were like, those are basic
Layups.
questions. Like, that was bad questioning. I'm like, no, dude. Like, he's nervous. You ask simple questions so he can give simple answers and then build up from there. And then Sheiden didn't give much. You could see that he got a little tight. You know, he definitely got tight. He got tight with his answers, tight with his time. Then he went into his I don't know, like, I don't know, I don't really remember. We didn't really do anything. Starts mumbling, and then that's what it is. Do you think you should interview players that don't want to be interviewed on the broadcast, like, for narrative purpose? Like, can you see the angle here? Jamada, we can start with you.
I'll be honest. Having sat in the green room with some of the best interviewers in the industry, you can get good interviews out of these guys from time to time. Like, it's not impossible. All right.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing that's important to note. Obviously, if there's like a long-standing track record of like these guys just make your life a little bit of a living hell when you try and get answers out, then sure, like, maybe you're not going to interview them. But to be honest, I think these moments serve to personify these players that we're watching. And I'm going to be honest, if you didn't know what Sheiden was like or about, then this interview probably did a pretty good job at letting you know that he is nonchalant and just doesn't give a fuck and wants to play ball, bro. Like, that's it. That's what he's there to do. And on the point of like, hey, like, the questions are very simple. Like, how are you supposed to... Bro, they're layup questions. They're really open-ended, so you can kind of answer them however you want. Granted, I think that does have the side effect of, if a question is too open, then if you're not used to being on camera and you're not used to being in, like, with a mic in your face, it's like, oh shit, how do I answer this? Yeah, I mean, I guess like this match is important. Yeah, I don't know. Like, yeah, like, cool. But at the end of the day, I think that more than anything, the fact that this interview went viral, I think the fact that Sheiden was the way that he was, I think it did a good job at actually providing content in its own, like, inverse way that I think people aren't really getting. And I think the flame towards, you know, either Azael or the questioning, or like the broadcast as a whole, to say like, oh, why are we interviewing this guy? Is like, we don't want to hear from fucking Tom, Dick, Harry, who's already had 15 interviews this split, who's probably going to say the exact same shit. Occasionally, we want to hear something different, right? And even if the interview is like this, I think it has a little bit of value in itself of just hearing something different from a different player. I think the immediate kind of jump to almost malice in a way, right? Like, thinking that Sheiden was almost like doing this, but he just wanted it to like fuck off, kind of vibe. Like, he just didn't want to be there. Was strange. I think if you've ever hung out or spoken with a pro player who's introverted, this is pretty on the money of what you're gonna get when you interact with a pro player like that. Sometimes they'll be a little bit more like chilled out, I guess, right? Because there's no camera or mic in front of them. But otherwise, yeah, a lot of these guys are just there to like I said, play ball, play League of Legends, and sometimes like interviews do make them feel a little bit like off key, and that's fine. But you've got to experiment with that, and you've got to go through that like cycle over and over again. And eventually, like, imagine we get this interview now. It's the last thing I'll say. Imagine we get this interview now, and I think they've probably interviewed Sheiden once or twice before as well, in a very similar manner. Imagine one day he actually just opens up and like has a, air quotes, good interview. Does no one see the value in that? To me, like, not to me, like, as being like, hey, progress. Like, Sheiden's actually opened up. I'm not, you know, it's not happened yet, but it could. And to me, again, that serves its own little purpose in its own way, that I think people are being very, very narrow-minded about, just off what boiled down to, what, a 60-second interview? Like, a real short interview.
Was it just 60? Holy shit. It felt like forever.
It was short as hell. It was a hard punch, yeah.
I mean, what I said when I was watching the interview was like, do we think that like LCK players give like amazing interviews and that's why like the LCK is so popular?
Man.
Like, it's so weird to me that this is the take, because like if you go to Asia and you listen to like LPL and LCK players giving interviews, it is like quite literally the most painful experience like known to man. every single one is like, we will practice harder to try to achieve better results for the fans. Everyone is good. Everyone is a very talented player. Like, that is how every single interview is. So it's like, and for some reason, like, I never hear that they're being rude. It's like, oh man, that's fucking rude by them to like not open up. Like, don't these players know that, you know, you want to get more of their personality? If Faker's answering the questions like this, isn't he just being rude? Like, I mean, he's a GOAT. Like, shouldn't he be doing more to, you know, promote these? Like, no one has this take for like other people, which is so like weird to me. Because yeah, I mean, I think it's such an inconsequential thing. And the fact that people have like tunneled in on this being the reason that the LTA is dying is just like fucking insanely crazy. It's like not the format, not the fucking fact that, you know, they were scheduling like finals and shit during LEC, not the fucking horrible merger of the leagues, not the change in name, the brand. It's really the Sheiden interview. It's the personality of the players. That's the thing that's killing the broadcast. It just seems like you can't have that take, honestly, unless you're just a complete moron. Like, I just don't see how that could be even like a top 10 thing on the list. Like, as somebody who's tracked this, like, I could make a whole fucking video that would last a long time on why the LTA is failing, right? Like, it would be one of the last things I would talk about. Like, people care more about competitive performances internationally. People care more about their teams that they've loved for years, like TSM and CLG, some of the best teams or some of the most winning teams that we've ever had, disappearing from the league completely. Like, even if somebody has a new personality, most people care about the players that they grew up watching. So, like, you know, people like Double leaving the league, Bjergsen leaving the league, like some of those people leaving. But it's not like, for example, Sniper is somebody who'd be very personable. Like, he always tries to do a good job in the interviews. He always tries to, you know, hype up the league. I don't think that's done like that much to increase popularity of the LTA. And I don't think that if more people were like Sniper, suddenly the league would be significantly more popular. I think that it's a bunch of other things that we would have to talk about first before we got to that. And then also what I would go back to is like, do you remember the first era of fucking League Pros? Do you remember like Dyrus interviews when Dyrus like was a fucking like player? Like, we're really saying that like, man, this guy was like so personable and entertaining compared to like shit. Are we really like making that argument? Like, Dyrus is one of my friends, but I would never be like, this guy is fucking great on camera, bro. Like, the way that this guy like captivated the audience is amazing. Like, I would never, you know, say that. It's just that like, it was hype at the time because it was a new thing and people were like excited for the tournaments and stuff like that. So yeah, I just think that it's such a bullshit take. But yeah, I mean, people, it's so weird. Also, like, people are saying that Sheiden is just like socially like incompetent or whatever, or socially inept, whatever they want to say. But I feel like if you look at this and you think that it's him trying to be rude or like him trying to like do something negative as opposed to him just like being socially awkward and not knowing what to say, I think that you're the one that's actually socially inept. If you look at this and you're immediately assuming like, damn, bro, like this guy's trying to fucking kill the LTA. Like, what a piece of shit. He fucking might hate Azael. Like, it just seems like then you're actually the one who has social problems and you just can't tell that somebody might be nervous. Like, in front of, like, it's just such a weird thing to assume that especially even the way his mannerisms are. There's nothing to me with the way that like Sheiden is moved. Like, even when Sheiden was answering, the way he's like quickly like moving his eyes down and stuff, there was nothing that made me feel like he was trying to disrespect Azael. There's no like, you know, micro things that he was doing with his body language or ways that he answered that made me think that he is doing something directly to try to like, or something that showed me that he doesn't like Azael. It's just like he didn't know what to say. Like, it seemed like more he didn't know what to say. Like, he's not really looking at the camera. He's like, oh shit, like, my bad. Like he just knows it's not going well, obviously. Like, I don't think that there was anything there that would lead you to say, oh, this guy is doing this on purpose. He's trying to be rude. It's more just like people kind of going with the angle of, oh, this guy is so socially inept that it must just be that he's being rude. I feel like that's the angle that people are trying to play there. And I don't know. I just think that it's just not true, bro. Like, even if I didn't know Sheiden, I wouldn't immediately assume that he is trying to do something fucked up here.
Yeah. All right. I feel like we hit a lot of the off-topic etiquette stuff of the week because there was a lot of it. There was a lot of it. I'm looking back at the old names of just players at your time of playing. Damn, bro. 11 years ago. I can't believe that's 11 years ago. But an interview with, let's say, former head coach later on their career, like, to see how much like some of these players grew after, like, years later into it, years into the career, like an interview with like Prolly, like old interview, probably that dude just would always troll. You couldn't get him to be fucking serious, and it was that was maybe entertaining, whatever. I feel like Afremu was always put together. Like that was always a good interview, but Scar early interviews, he was just honest, and sometimes awkward, honest. Odd one interviews, like people grew into it as it went a little further on. So, all right. I guess that was HiKeyLowKeyNoKey, but I guess it was just more about esports etiquette and what was on our minds there. All right, before we get to Galaxy Brain Club and playoffs, gotta remind you about our friends over at Raycon. You know, I actually, boom, have mine right here because they were charging, which you don't have to charge that long with Raycon everyday earbuds. You only need to charge them for 10 minutes, and they're good for 90 minutes of battery. And theoretically, you can just have it charged longer, and they would last for a 32-hour battery life. They also have the multi-point connectivity that allows you to pair it with multiple devices at once. So super easy to use. They come with active noise cancellation, which is pretty hard to find at this price point, and it works really well. They've got the active noise cancellation. They've got awareness mode. So if you want to be able to have your headphones in but still hear around you, still can do that. And then different ways to have the audio settings as well. If you're a big bass guy, they got you covered there. They come in a bunch of different colors. The original one I got was black. This one, obviously, with like the periwinkle. Maybe I'm not sure. It kind of looks like my hair color, honestly. So it worked out pretty well there. And if for some reason doesn't quite work out, the multitude of earbuds don't fit your ears, which they have multiple earbud sizes. They offer a 30-day happiness guarantee, no questions asked. So if you're ready to go ahead and level up your audio listening game, head on over to buyraycon.com/powerspike to get 15% off site-wide. It's site-wide. So if you wanted something more or multiple different everyday earbuds, they've got you covered. buyraycon.com/powerspike. That's buyraycon.com/powerspike. 15% off, plus support your favorite show here at Powerspike. All right, let's get into it. The Galaxy Brain Club, LTA playoffs, LPL playoff positioning, and the LEC tiebreaker for some reason, and then I guess a little bit of the playoffs. Let's get into it. All right, let's start with LEC. The tiebreaker, are we just triple sure, Dom? It's a best of one. It's a best of one tiebreaker. Correct. For Europe. What? All right. I'm not gonna ask why. It just is.
I know you said Dom, and I'm not Dom.
No,
but
get in there, Jamada.
It does seem like, because yesterday was obviously a possibility, logistically they didn't want to have Vitality in the studio to just play the best of one if it was going to be a best of one. That said, it is really fucking weird that if you're going to play it the next day, and actually just like the weird little bit of side information, the LVP, actually I don't even know if it's called the LVP anymore, but the Spanish Superliga had to have its matches postponed today for this one best of one, because the way that the scheduling works is you can't have the ERLs don't broadcast whilst the LEC is on. So they've scheduled this game for 7 o'clock UK, 8 o'clock rest of Europe, or Central European time. One game to decide whether or not you're top 6 instead of a best of 3, considering you're bringing the teams into the studio for an extra day anyway. It does feel weird. Does feel really weird. That said, I think I'd be happy only seeing these two guys play one game right now anyway. Because I have felt a lot of pain watching Vitality and Heretics the last little while. Also, Vitality, I guess the other part was they were traveling back from Paris. My assumption would be that's it. Otherwise, but it's like a day trip. Maybe they just, again, my assumption is they wouldn't want them playing on the same day that they traveled. That's all I could really think of.
Yep. I don't know.
Good insight.
The best of one tiebreaker is just super fucking weird. It's just super fucking weird.
Yeah.
Because normally the way that these leagues operate, like, you know, the way that LCK and LPL operate is if teams are tied, it goes down to like game score, right? And then it'll be like game score, and then it'll be head to head. So there's like so many more different things. So normally the way that they would break a tie like this, is that they would just be like, who won the best of 3 when they played, and whoever won the best of 3 when they played would be the team that ends up moving on, right? Like it would be that simple. But yeah, it's one of those things where because it's a single round robin best of 3, as opposed to a double round robin best of 3, it's like there's side select when it comes to who gets like the initial side select. So they think it's not completely fair to use that metric to determine the tiebreak. So that's why they're doing it. But I feel like at that point, if you're going to do it on a whole different day and you're going to have a whole fucking production and everything there, might as well just play a best of 3, you know? Like, it would just be better in general. And then you're going to have an even bigger issue where it comes to, I mean, because Heretics beat Vitality, I guess they get the side select again when it comes to this this tiebreaker. But yeah, I mean, a best of 1 with you know, one side being potentially significantly stronger on a patch than the other side, I think is a big issue.
Yeah. You know me, whenever it comes to the extra days or, you know, having another show day, I'm Mr. Logistics here. You pay for the whole day. So unless it's like a stripped down version of the show, but then that goes against like Riot's mantra generally of like, it's a spectacle, which is why they don't have offline match or online matches. They don't have, you know, they always do things in a certain way. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe this was a case where it was like competitive integrity came in front of show logistics. And in our rule book, we could have gone deeper with tiebreakers, but we didn't. Now this situation happened, and now this is going to cost us, you know, however much it costs to run another day of the studio. And we can try to recoup it by saying, hey, look, advertisers, we did an extra spend here for you. And I don't know. I'm not 100% sure, but it just feels not logistically sound as well. You just have to do it because of the rules. Okay. LTA playoffs. They kind of start now. Is this starting as the playoffs, or this is the... Never mind. It's the seeding and elimination matches. So we've got the first place seed here. You guys, Cloud9, against FlyQuest. Third place, TL versus the surprise Shopify Rebellion. And then Leon Dig and 100 Thieves DSG. Is this straightforward? Do we see surprises here, Dom? Any upsets? Best of 3s.
I mean, it's weird, right? Because it's like best of 3s, but for example, for ours, it matters. Like the C9 FlyQuest match matters because you want to have the ability to potentially pick Shopify. But for Shopify TL, it actually doesn't matter at all, right? Like they're playing a best of 3, but it doesn't matter because the winner of the first and second is going to decide what side they want. So even if Shopify beats TL, like both teams are going to just fucking play against Shopify over TL, right? Like it's just people just think Shopify is a much worse team than TL. So it doesn't really, it's weird because you're going to play these guys in much more important matches later on. So yeah, we'll see what ends up happening with it. But yeah, I mean, I think that it should be a good best of 3. I mean, from the scrims that I watch, it's very obvious that C9 and Fly are just above the other teams in the league. I'd say pretty substantially. So we'll see how it goes. It's weird, right? Because I think most people consider Fly to be better than us, but when we played them in the best of 1, we beat them, and then we played them in the best of 3 last split, and we beat them. So they haven't beat us yet, like in a series or like a match day really so far this year. So we'll see how it ends up going this time. I do think they're like by far the strongest opponent we have.
I know since we lost Monty to, you know, administrative duties here, Dom, we haven't been format sticklers here, but is this just a bad format thing? I never really noticed this. Third place match doesn't matter at all. It doesn't matter at all. It doesn't
matter at all.
Oh wow! Like I guess the hope was like, oh, maybe the fourth place team looks like they're surging and are really good, so the first place team would dodge them, kind of like the KT playoff thing when they were, I think, at 22 or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter at all.
Shopify should just troll the game. Troll the game, piss TL off, have them be tilted going into playoffs, and
honestly, they might just do that unintentionally. So we'll see.
You're right.
Yeah.
Jamada, when you take a look up and down, what do you think here?
I think a lot of these results should be pretty how you expect them. I guess maybe Leon Dig. That could be fun. Just because the two teams are gonna be shitslinging each other. But yeah, I mean C9 Fly has the most, important ramifications on the bracket, right? So yeah, I'm not really one for format stickling unless the format is just horrendous. And I mean this format is pretty horrendous. But I'm not living it. I'm not living it.
It's just weird because they wanted to have just best of ones. Like they didn't want to do a format like this. They wanted to have the 14 best of ones. So you're supposed to have 14 best of ones, and then it would just be like whoever won the most would get first seed, second seed, third seed. They were just going to do the whole thing like that. So yeah, it is fucking weird now.
It is now exceptionally weird. I don't know. You know what? Weirdly, I have this visceral gut feeling for some reason that TL are somehow going to troll and lose to Shopify, and that is going to be my one eyes closed, throw dart at the dartboard prediction. There's no rhyme or reason to it. I just think that will be the one weird shakeup that we get. Because again, as we kind of touched on 100 Thieves earlier with the Fraudler, I don't think they should lose to DSG in this Elim match. It would be pretty surprising to say the least. Otherwise, yeah. I think that this little cross group section, does this last 2 weeks, Tom, or is this no, it's only 4 matches. It's 1 week, but it's going to be 2 days because I'm reading the format weird. Yeah, it's just kind of a whatever weekend, and this is more just about if you're caring about the top two. This is just a good gauge to see where C9 and FlyQuest are at against one another, actually on stage. Otherwise, the rest of the games are a bit fucking boring. Again, TLSR is the only one where you think, man, it'll be cool for the bracket if some bullshit happens here and Shopify actually pull out a win.
All right, well, let's go to the LPL then. Let's go to LPL and do some futures predictions because it won't be completely done by the time that we get to next week, the LPL playoffs, the LPL regular season, so seeding for the playoffs, but it'll be mostly done. So as we move to that penultimate week, who do you think is making it into the playoffs here, and who will be doing the play-ins instead? Don, let's start with you.
Well, Top Esports and AL are already qualified, so they're already guaranteed in. Thunder Talk is already pretty much out. WE and NIP, their records are too bad. They would need a fucking miracle. BLG, I think, is for sure going to make it. I don't think that there's a chance they don't make it because now they've already played 15 matches. They're already on 10 wins. And their next games, BLG plays against JDG, which has depression. They're also playing against Top Esports. And then they play against IG. I think they're winning at least 2 of those. Maybe they win all 3. They're looking pretty good right now. So I think they're in for sure. And then when it comes to IG, JDG, Weibo, those are the teams that are really fighting. FPX is also fighting. I mean, I think IG just might have too big of a lead on those other teams, to be honest. IG only has 3 matches left, and 2 of them are against NIP and FPX. So I think it's very possible that IG just ends up being the other team. I think JDG's in trouble. And Weibo, I think, kind of cooked themselves at the end here. So I think IG is the 4th team.
Damn. Is it? Wait, it's only top 4?
So the way that it works is top 4 is you're guaranteed into the
playoffs.
Into playoffs, and then
into playoffs. And, the other stuff play qualification matches and shit.
Yeah, the play-in is the other 8 teams.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's very hard to disagree with Dom's placement here, just because when you look at the schedule, man, IG have just got a really piss run of it, right? Like BLG will be their biggest test if they win the next 2 series and somehow like, you know, BLG drop a game to top esports, but then like even if they beat JDG, which right now seems pretty plausible, I mean, I don't think it ends up making a difference. Yeah, I mean, maybe there's a weird world where JDG end up winning, you know, 4, 5 series, but they just look too fucking off key, man. Like too off key, because the only thing that JDG have going for them is that they've got 2 series in hand over IG and BLG, but their run of schedule is, you know, it includes BLG, like we said, it includes anyone's legend. And then the other teams are Weibo, FPX, and NIP. Can they beat these teams? Yes, when they're like playing normally, but they're not playing normally like to the ish standard that we've seen them play well at. And NIP are on a soft resurgence. There's no telling how long that will or won't last. So that's like not an easy series. FPX have challenged the teams above them fairly consistently. And Weibo can be world champions on any given day that they decide to. So you don't like, you actually just don't know with this team either. So they just have too much a coin flip set of games in front of them for me to confidently say, yeah, they'll catch up with IG and they'll do the thing. They had to win today. Like today was the series that really was like the linchpin to me on whether or not they'll make top 4. Because it was in football we always call it a 6-point game. With the games ahead that they had, if they beat IG, then yeah, maybe there's more of a shout for it. But I think losing today kind of has just sealed their place as likely not making top 4 unless they really spin around and find some mojo back, because they don't have any right now.
So just for clarification here, for tiebreakers in the LPL, it is game difference first. Even though IG have the head-to-head 2-0 over JDG, it is game difference first, and game difference for JDG is +4. Game difference for IG is 0. So JDG, although they have a tougher schedule coming a little bit later, they have one cleaner when they have one. So maybe who knows? We'll see. We'll see if JDG can sneak on in and figure it out, because I mean they were on fraud alert and they looked really terrible. Also, that was my bad. I got a little confused about it. I thought it was 6 and then 6 and then 10.
Over.
Yeah, 6 and then 6. That's what I thought it was. But LMG and Ultra Prime, they're just on Earth, right? Because OMG and RNG, they went down to hell. They don't play for the rest of the year. LGD and EDG, they get to go up to heaven and play with like the play-ins teams. But LNG and UP just exist.
I mean, those matches matter a lot, by the way, when you play those, because essentially what that is, if you don't know what the matches are for, when you have the play-ins, obviously if you win, then you qualify to the upper bracket of playoffs and you get double elimination, which is huge. But then the other thing that's super important is that if you win that qualification match, then based on your placement, you're going to either be in the upper group or the lower group. So you have a higher chance of being in the upper group next split, the top 8, because the next group is top 8, bottom 6. When it gets to summer. So you really want to get into that top 8, or you're playing Nirvana group again, which is a lot worse. Like you have best of 5s against the rest of everyone. It's tough.
Yeah, LNG and Ultra Prime. Welcome, everyone. Welcome a new batch of people on in. All right. Well, cool. Let's see if JDG are able to do it. Sneak on in, or will IG hold on, or, some way bro prayers end up happening here. Okay. That is our Galaxy Brain Club look at the playoffs. As we're starting that step before the playoffs. Who's going to make it on in or not? Any upsets next week? Doesn't look like it in LTA. We'll see what happens in LPL, and then LEC kicks off their tiebreaker to start things off. Y'all, it's been a hell of a day. What an episode! Thanks for the pivot there into fandom, etiquette, and all that stuff. Let us know what you thought about the etiquette, who you think is going to make it on into the playoffs, and who is the most fraud team out of those 3 that we brought up? Let us know in the comments. Comments have been lacking a little bit lately, so get on in there. If you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe here on Last Free Nation and across all the different channels that we have. We're pumping out a lot of different content, especially over in the culture and the gaming side. Our gaming side's starting to heat up. We're going to be doing some reviews of Chrono Trigger is what I think is our first game going to be. So a replay of one of the masteries, and then probably do Obscure. Claire Obscure, which has been really popping off lately as one of the biggest RPGs in the last decade. So be sure to keep that tuned in. Until then, take care of yourself. Watch their co-streams. Watch Jamada's cast. I'll see you tomorrow on LCK and the rest of the week on LCK. And we'll see you next time.